Good evening. I am Ethan Spalding, member of the Social Equity Program. I will be your moderator for tonight's session. Welcome to this webinar sponsored by the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation, Business Licensing, and Compliance Assistance Program. BLC programming is designed to assist social equity applicants in the City of Los Angeles with obtaining a commercial cannabis license and operating a successful cannabis business. This installment of our 2024 late summer webinar series focuses on business plan preparations. Now, before we get started, let's take a moment to review some housekeeping rules. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and can be viewed only on DCR's learning management system after the editing process. You will be muted with cameras off for the duration of the webinar. This means that your camera and audio functions will not be available to you during this session. However, you will be able to see and hear all panelists. There is an open chat box where you can interact with one another for networking or comment on the information. Please use caution when sharing personal information in a public forum and keep your questions focused on tonight's topic. Please ask questions about tonight's subject matter in the Q&A box. We are gathering and responding to your questions throughout the presentation. We will have a Q&A session where you will get all the responses in the last portion of tonight's event. Finally, please note that tonight's content was not created by the Department of Cannabis Regulation or the City of Los Angeles and is for informational purposes only. This information is subject to change and does not replace or supersede the Los Angeles Municipal Code, nor constitute legal advice. If you have specific questions outside of tonight's topic, please call 213-978-0738 during our business hours, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to speak with a DCR representative. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would like to introduce our esteemed guest presenter, Rithia Tang.
Thank you for that, Ethan. Welcome, everybody, to this presentation on business plan preparation. My name is Rithia Tang. I've been helping businesses, small businesses, for over a dozen years. This is my approach. It's one approach. There's a lot of approaches out there that's produced by private and public institutions, but it's seemed to work out with for a lot of clients that I've helped in the past. So the agenda. Let's see. The agenda will cover my background, a little bit more information about myself, things to avoid when you're considering writing a business plan, business models in cannabis. So there's certain businesses, licenses that are available. We'll want to assess the different licenses and see what you're going to be writing about. Traits of an entrepreneur. I'm sure all of you in attendance are great folks. There's certain traits that you want to enhance or highlight in your business plan. Finance and budgeting. Of course, business requires money. We're going to want to look at where do you go to find money and how do you pitch? How do you begin to think about pitching to find money? Resources and networking. We're going to want to look at the ecosphere of the cannabis industry and see where you can get information. Of course, field research. You want to look at engaging with folks in the cannabis industry, getting information so that you're ready to write your business plan. We'll cover the different parts of the business plan. And lastly, we'll look at an approach that I use that has been successful to do projections. A little bit more about myself. I graduated from the University of California in San Diego back in '96 in management sciences, otherwise known as quantitative economics and decision sciences, along a degree. I finished my master's in international affairs in 2004. I've been an economist on State Street in Boston. So working under the tutelage of a gentleman who had a private practice with the former Fed official, Alan Greenspan. So I've done wonders as an economist out in Boston. I've also opened my own business domestically and internationally. I've worked in private equity for a good 3 years. I've held professional licenses for insurance and investments, of course, with the Department of Insurance in California and nationwide within the SEC. I've started helping small businesses, with a focus on small businesses directly with the Goldman Sachs program in the LA region, covering city of Long Beach, covering city of LA. Then I joined the nationwide cohort, helping folks that were not in major metropolitan cities like Alaska, like Hawaii. Um, I've had a contract with the small business development centers in the LA region for about 3 to 4 cities in the city of LA, city of Hawthorne, city of Compton, and the city of Pasadena. I have helped cannabis equity applicants for the city of Long Beach and city of San Jose doing these types of things, helping them produce business plans, helping them look at strategy, looking at what they need to do to be successful in their cannabis operations. So, things to avoid when you're thinking about writing a business plan. Certainly, try to write your own plan. Don't use someone else's plan. Don't hire somebody to write your plan. I mean, the simple fact is that you want to be this your own. You want to connect with the material. If you're using someone else's plan, it's going to be hard to try to recall the information that somebody else wrote, right? So there's going to be a disconnect if you're being interviewed or you're being, asked questions and what do you think of this section, this financial projections? Tell me a bit more. So try to write your own plan. Don't write a marketing piece. Most marketing piece that you probably all have read come from internet adverts, advertising commercials, making statements only without any substance to how you're going to get there. For example, if you think that you're going to be number one, how are you going to be number one in the cannabis industry, whether it be retail, distribution, right? That's your goal, that's your statement, but you got to have substance behind the statements. So don't just do a marketing piece. Don't write the plan all at once. I mean, I've written many a business plans and it's grueling. I mean, plan for thinking a lot. Business has many different pieces from people to sales and marketing to finances. It's a lot. Don't write it all in 10 hours, right? If you need to review stuff later or add more substance to a certain section later, please do so. If you're anything like me, I love to look at pictures, tables, charts, graphs. Don't write just text. It's a bit boring. It's a bit monotonous. Add some oomph into your business plan with tables, with graphs, with charts, with pictures, with illustrations. Please, this is super important if you have a challenge writing period. Use tables instead, use illustrations so that you don't have to write so much. So try to avoid doing these things. Business models in cannabis, right? So with business models in cannabis, we're going to view the licenses that are available from the DCC. Licenses as a cultivator, as a manufacturer, as a distributor, as a testing lab, as a retailer, as an event organizer, right? So depending on the license that you're going to get, you're going to address certain things just because you have that license. So as a cultivator, you're going to want to address in your business plan the risk that you expect to face, like crop failure. What's going to happen if there are pests, if there's disease, if Mother Nature hits you and your crop, gets destroyed. Certainly, you're going to want to include stuff in your operations to prevent crop failure, yield variability, just the nuances in terms of how much you get in your harvest, right? How do you get consistency in the production that you'll obtain? Products and services, of course, when you're a cultivator, you're going to be selling the plant. You're going to sell the bud. You're going to sell the leaves. Are there other things that you're going to sell? Write about that in your plan. KPI or the key performance indicators, you want to, drop a few things that you're going to measure yourself so that you can really see that you progress from year to year, month to month on the number of harvests that you would get per year. right? The more harvest you get per year, the more revenue that you expect to obtain on a yearly basis. The yield per plant, what's the weight of the plant, per plant that you hope to get. Labor productivity, what's the output per labor? Are you going to measure how many people it takes to get a harvest, how many hours they work, right? So include that in your business plan. If you're a manufacturer and you are shooting for this license, you want to look at production, what kind of things are you going to mitigate if, right, there's a breakdown in equipment, there are labor shortages, or there are quality issues. So include that in your plan. So supply chain, you're going to want to look at, well, how do I make sure that the suppliers are reliable, make sure that the materials are available, make sure that certainly transport of the materials or the supplies are efficient. It's not going to take forever. Write that in your plan. The products that you're going to sell absolutely is the end product the consumer is going to consume. The KPI, key performance indicators that you want to track in your business plan, the lead time, how long do you expect to take to produce a product from start to finish, the defect rate, making sure that you're monitoring the amount of waste that happens in production as minimal as possible so that you keep on making high revenues and not have to throw away products that are not usable. As a distributor, all right, so include these things in a plan. What's going to happen when there are delays, when you don't arrive on time, when there are errors? What are the things that you need to do to make sure you arrive on time? All right, rising fuel costs. Address the fact that in today's environment, fuel can be a big chunk of your operations. What will you do? Will you have membership to a gas station? Will you buy electric or hybrid vehicles instead? Products and services that you will offer in your business, right? Your business model, you'll get money when you provide services of transport. You can even, with this license, do packaging and labeling for others. The indicators that you might want to include as a distributor: on-time delivery for sure. What percentage of delivery do arrive on time without any errors, right? Making sure that your customers are happy and getting their product. Revenue per delivery. Certainly, you want to make sure that you don't use a truck for just one single delivery. What's that dollar that you carry per truck? Making sure it's full. It's super wasteful if you just deliver, a half-empty truck. So monitor these things under your license. When you have a testing lab license, right? So write in your plan how you're going to mitigate equipment malfunction if there's a breakdown, right? All these things in terms of essential equipment. So if it breaks down, it might compromise data integrity, it might ruin your operations. Steps you're going to include to be compliant with the DCC rules, making sure that you're going to avoid any fees, any penalties, or really just so that you don't lose your license, right? So include that in your business plan. Of course, the services that you provide, you're going to test for potency, you're going to test for any oddities in the plant. KPI, you absolutely make sure that you're turning the test around, you're completing the test on a timely manner. So that's a measure that you want to monitor in your business and write it in your plan. Equipment uptime, certainly if you're buying $100,000 equipment, so you want to make sure, right, that you measure how busy it is in a day, how busy it is in a month or a year, to make sure that, yes, you're getting enough business for the investment that you put into the equipment. Now, as a retailer, there's certain things that you want to write about, right? So absolutely inventory management. Inventory is a big cost when you're running a retail shop, right? So how do you buy the right product? How do you negotiate the right price? How do you manage products that are going to expire? Write about cash management. Certainly, this is a cash-heavy business. Credit cards really aren't accepted. What do you do to secure the cash on site? What do you do to secure the cash in transport, right? So write about that in terms of your concerns about security with cash. Products and services is absolutely the end product that the consumer consumes. KPIs for the retail industry, right? So write about your goals for getting average dollar per ticket, your goals of getting there, right? So average order value is essentially what's the amount of money, what's the amount of sales per receipt that you're going to get? What's the inventory turn? How fast do you hope to turn over your inventory? That means how fast you hope to replace the inventory every month, every week, right? So follow and measure this for your business. When you're an event organizer, license holder, there's a certain different set of risks that you want to address in your plan. What are you going to do about the venue? Is it going to be available? What's the capacity? What are the conditions of the venue? You got to mitigate the risk on liability, with insurance. What's going to happen? What are you going to do to protect people from getting bodily harm, for getting their property damage? Um, Certainly the services that you're going to offer and putting up with these events, right? The APIs that you'll want to monitor is really the attendance, the folks that pay to enter the event, the folks that want to pay to be a vendor at the event. For each event, you're going to want to look at the profitability per event, the revenues that you get minus the direct costs of holding up the event. So these are the business models. These are the things that you'll want to include depending on the license that you're going to shoot for, right? Traits of an entrepreneur. There's certain things that you all are great at, but for an entrepreneur, these are the things that I'd like you to highlight, right, in your business plans. So the ability to network, the ability to meet new people, the ability to strengthen relationships, the ability to, get more suppliers, get more sales channels, get more people, quality people to come on board, understanding, what's there that you can connect with and help to get them to succeed, get them to help you succeed in your business. The traits of an entrepreneur that's super important is decision making under pressure. You got to make wise decisions, right? So, talk about or drop a few hints in terms of your ability to figure out, whether it's using math, whether it's using resources to make sound judgments. Talk about you being a leader, whether it be in the past, in the current time, in the future. Your ability to build teams that are high functioning, great performers. Your ability to communicate, whether it be verbal, right, or whether it be with text, emails, written communication. Talk about your perseverance, your ability to overcome challenges, to be resilient, right? To stick it through and to really not quit. As an entrepreneur, you want to talk about your ability to, absorb so much information, to change if need be, due to the economy, due to the changing consumer tastes, right? Being able to pivot, right? Talk about your ability to persuade. The number one salesperson in a business, in a small business, should be the owner who can sell him or herself, the owner who can sell the business, who can sell the product, can be excited about the services they provide, right? So these are the important traits of an entrepreneur that you want to, stress and make sure that you address how strong you are in these traits in the business plan. So every business requires money, right? Money has to come from somewhere. To start a business, it starts with you. What are you going to contribute? If you're looking to get money from other folks, whether it be, what I'm going to list out here, they're going to want to see that you have skin in the game, right? Quote unquote, making sure that you have something to lose. It's going to be harder for you to abandon the business, right? If you have $100,000 in the business, $50,000 in the business, it's your money. You're not going to easily walk away, right? You're going to have something to lose. So what are you going to contribute into this business? You want to seek out friends and family. They've known you the longest. They know your strengths and weaknesses, right? You're going to want to approach friends and family. You want to say, hey, I'm going to start this business. I want to talk to you about it. would you consider investing? Would you consider giving? Would you consider being a part of this business? Provide maybe other resources other than money, right? Network. Their former colleagues or former acquaintances or friends, people that you engage with that you're not as close as friends and family, but you want to say, hey, can I get some of your time to talk about what I'm going to do? Would you be available to hear me out? Maybe consider investing. Maybe consider giving a loan. Right now, if you reach out to these folks, there's investors who are much more formal, much more difficult. They have their own process, right? Investors such as the angel investors who are more risk taking to take a chance to invest in a new startup. There are venture capital, there are private equity folks. These groups are much more formal. Certainly, it's an option. Um, there are banks, banks nowadays, they, hopefully in the future that you can go to them for loans. But I just wanted to make sure that that can be an option just in case, 6 months down the line, you can't go to banks. So when you're talking to these folks in this network, in these places where you can seek out money, you look for donations from mom, dad, brother, sister. You're going to look for grants from the city of LA, from other sources. You're going to look to maybe even offering equity, right? If you're talking to friends and family, they say, I really want a piece of the business, right? So consider giving a piece of your business to those who are going to put faith in you and give you money, lend you money, right? So sometimes they're going to not want any piece of the business. They don't want to be involved. They say, look, I'll give you a loan, right? So you got to determine what are the terms for the loan. So if you haven't started, dropping indications to this network of what you want to do, you should do it now. It takes a while to fundraise. I mean, it does not take overnight. It's hard for people with money to reach in their pockets and give it to you, right? Formal investors, even friends and family, will require what we're going to cover here, a business plan. They want to see what it is that you are thinking about on paper. They want to read it on their own time. They don't want to just hear it verbally. They want to see it and read it. So prepare business plans, have projections ready, and constantly talk about how you're going to budget, budget, budget. You have a budget for this, you have a budget for that, right? Money can go fast. They want to make sure that you're cognizant of spending money efficiently and well. Resources and networking. So we're going to cover the ecosphere, right? Information for the cannabis industry. Certainly at the center is the DCC, the Department of Cannabis Control for the state of California. They put out the regulations that you should adhere to with whatever license that you want to shoot for. It's up there, read it. They put up the checklist that you need to comply with, to even get a license. It's up there. Search for it, get it, do it. Right. You're going to want to read the regulation, read the checklist, and, maybe if it's relevant, include it in your business plan. Right. Seek out industry agents. Industry agents are the players, those with the current licenses, the ones that we reviewed, manufacturers, cultivators, labs, and all that. Maybe you seek out those who work there to get information. Certainly, if you want to be a retailer, be a customer of a retailer that you admire, buy their product, be I guess, a group or join a newsletter to see what's going on as a customer, talk to customers. Even after you open, you'll want to take surveys of customers, get a sense of what the trends are going to be like. Go to other businesses who service cannabis businesses, businesses like general contractors who help put up, their retail space. Go to businesses that help provide packaging, provide marketing material, right? So try to talk to folks who have the license and who service those licenses and who partake in those products. You get information from media, from broadcast, that's radio, TV, that's podcasts. You get information from print, that's newspapers, that's magazines, right? Get information from digital, that's online, Facebook, social media. Yeah. So try to see what's going on in these two spaces. And after you get your license, even before, you can go on the websites of the CCIA to get information. CCIA is the California Cannabis Industry Association, where they probably provide resources in terms of what they do, right? And after you get your license, join to make sure that you're staying abreast of all the new information for the industry, right? And there's particular industries for beverage, particular industries for distribution. Of course, you got to make sure, yeah, you're dealing with the regulatory bodies and the government. That's the state of California. That's a DCC. That's a state board taxes, the franchise board, the city of Los Angeles, the folks on this call. Um, you got to make sure that you're aware of the information on the IRS tax rules for cannabis business, right? So this is the ecosphere for you if you're going to operate in this space, right? You got to reach out to them, meaning that, look, you got to do field research. You can't write a business plan by sitting on your butt. You got to go out there, look at the resources that are around in the industry, and what do? You do the traditional things. You call them, you email them. You can get their phone numbers, you can get their emails from the DCC database, right? To reach out to folks to see, hey, let's set up a time to meet in person. Let me buy you coffee. Let me buy you a meal. Let me pick your brain. Maybe you have a cousin who has a friend who works for a retail, who works for a manufacturer, distribution company. Say, hey, I really want to get in this business. Let me buy you a meal, right? If you have a friend or somebody who works, you know, across the nation in New York, in Virginia, let's do a virtual meeting. I really want to pick your brain. You gotta get information. Gotta get more information. Look, there are events, there are conferences for cannabis. Get involved. After you have your initial coffee meeting, get an invite to their location. Observe, see what equipment they have, see their brochures, see their website, right? Get further meetings. What you're trying to do in these activities is to validate information. Certainly, there's a lot of information out there. You can't just believe the first source that you speak to, the first source that you see. You got to constantly validate information to make sure that what you write in your plan has been checked, has been validated and verified, right? What you're trying to get, right? Once you start to engage with people, you're trying to get a sense of price, getting a price for product, getting a price for seeds, getting a price for build out. You're trying to get maybe a proposal, right? Maybe you offer a proposal to a potential buyer, right? If you're going to be a distributor, maybe you talk to a manufacturer and say, hey, what are you currently paying for distribution costs? So trying to get a sense, you're trying to be involved, engaged, you're trying to get samples and trials, just before you get really serious with a contact, right? So start to do activities, start to, you know, just do stuff to get information so that you can be confident when you're writing your business plan, right? And essentially, these contacts, once you get your license, you're going to want to expand the relationship, right? They're going to see these stages that you've done, in terms of reaching out to them, getting your license, now launching, right? What can you do to further that relationship? It's all about that networking. It's all about relationships once you open your business. So here's a business plan. I've been doing business plans for over a dozen years. This is one approach, right? The business plan should be written for you. The audience is you. You're going to use this business plan as a reference to start executing what you're going to plan for, right? It's you, and it's everything that you're going to do in your business. Certainly, you can have various versions of your business plan, right? There's a lot of investors out there who are business plan collectors, and you just don't want all this hard work just to be not looked at and thrown in the trash, right? You can have different versions to keep whether it's your value proposition, where it's your recipe that you think is very crucial to the success of your business. You could, darken it out, you could leave it out. So with a business plan, um, these are the typical segments of a business plan. Certainly, you can include other stuff for certain businesses, but most of these segments should belong in a business plan. We'll go over the different segments now. This is funny. Executive summary, it appears in the front part of the plan, but really, you should write your business plan last. You're going to want to talk and brag about yourself. The other slide, we cover traits of an entrepreneur. Drop a sentence or two about yourself, about how great you are, right? You're going to set the tone of what they're going to read, who they're going to read from you, right? What's your strength, and whether it be finances, whether it be sales, whether it be growing, right? Talk about how you're going to be different. What's a value proposition you're going to build in this business, right? How are we? There are already license holders that exist. What's going to make you different, right? Once they invest in you, where are you going to take this company? What's the value that you want people to see when you launch this business? What is the financial outlook? Absolutely. If you're considering to have people read this plan and you're looking to ask for money, right, you're going to have to give a little insight about, the potential revenue, the potential outlay in terms of cost for startup, for people, and the margins that you might obtain, whether it be gross margin or net margin. Again, write this last after you've put down all your thoughts on paper or on screen. Write this last. It should be no longer than one page, right? For folks like myself who used to be an investor, I go through the executive summary first. I read that. If it's really attractive, then I'll continue with the rest, right? So the executive summary, super important piece of document that you should include. Your company, right? So we review the different licenses you have. So you're going to talk about your company. You're going to talk about the vision statement, the mission statement. You're going to give a sense about what it is that you're trying to create with your distribution company, your manufacturing company. I'd like to use an analogy with, coming up with a vision, a mission statement from using the military as an analogy. Currently Ukraine and Russia is fighting a war. You can see that their vision, overarching vision, is to win the war. But what would it take, right, to accomplish this vision statement? They're going to have a set of missions that they're going to outlay for their soldiers to accomplish, right, on a regular basis. Make sure we destroy the bridge, make sure we disrupt the supply lines, make sure we disrupt their communication, make sure that we drop pamphlets out there to really interrupt their psyche, right? So accomplishing these missions on a regular basis, they're going to hopefully win the war. Similar to you as a business, you're going to want to create a vision statement that's overarching. All right. It's a picture with words of what you want your customer, your suppliers, your employees to see, what you want to create with this company. And you're going to set a level or just a list of missions that you want to accomplish on a regular basis, right? To be number one, you're going to want to make sure that the mission, that quality is there. You pick the right suppliers, you do all these checks to make sure quality is there, right? So a list of mission statements to be expected from everybody who is involved with you, from customers, employees, suppliers, saying, we need to do this on a regular basis. Certainly set out a few goals that are achievable for year one, achievable for year two, year three, right? Goals, you're not going to create everything year one. It's not believable, right? So do something that is reasonably you can accomplish in the first year. So list those things out, right? These aren't the only things that we want to write about in the company, but these are the things I wanted to highlight, right? Products and services, certainly, lists the products. This is a perfect place where you can include a table of the types of products, the category of products that you're going to provide, the services that you're going to provide, what problems that will your product or service resolve, right? Um, Essentially, what's going to be unique, anything different, talk about the uniqueness of your product. Is there going to be a competitive advantage about what you're going to do? Are you going to have an exclusive arrangement with a supplier? Are you going to have something unique in terms of design, in terms of the consistency of the product, right? What's your pricing strategy? This is a place where you're going to talk about, well, how are you going to price things? Are you going to put things on discount if they buy it in volume? Are you going to give discounts in terms of holidays or when the products are about to expire? What's your pricing strategy um, for your products and services? World, you need to include your marketing plan. The traditional saying is that marketing is paramount in the first 2, 3 years of the business. It's all about marketing, 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 making sure that people are aware of who you are because you're new, right? People want to engage with you, buy from you. So you got to look at, well, how are you going to position your product or service? Is it going to be a high-end product? Is it going to be the cheapest product, right? It's going to be the product with average pricing with the greatest quality. Looking at how do you communicate your products and services to the potential consumers and buyers, right? How will you engage with social media? Right? Will you send out newsletters? Will you put out ads? Right? Will you use a certain communication style for that audience that you're trying to target, whether it's females, working moms, whether it be college students who are stressed out, who wants to reduce that stress level? Looking at making sure that you budget for marketing, right? Like I said before, the first few years, it's all about making sure that the masses are aware of your presence and what you do, looking at they're aware of your vision, what you're all about, set a budget and make sure that you spend that budget, whether it be on social media, whether it be on print ads, whether it be on events at your location. Okay. Operations. So when we're looking at operations, you're going to include all the things that's required from the DCC, right, in their regulations. You're going to look at the processes that you're going to adopt for security, the process that you're going to adopt for quality control, right? Making sure that the things that you choose to do, whether you're a manufacturer, in terms of the machine, in terms of the inputs, in terms of the quality checks, inventory. How will you handle inventory is super important for the DCC to make sure that you account for all the things you buy, all the things you sell, nothing missing. Suppliers and vendors, making sure that, hey, if the supplier is not reliable, you have folks in the bench that you can go out and say, hey, could you offer me this? Can you deliver it in a certain time? I need it immediately, right? Talk about that. Talk about whether you, offer credit to the buyers. Are you going to accept 30 days or cash only? Maybe discuss credit with the sellers. If you're buying raw materials from them, could you pay a week later? Could you pay a month later? Right? Absolutely, you got to have a section for you and your team when you're writing a business plan. The perfect way to convey your team is with an org chart, right? With an org chart, you have roles of your team, you have their title, you have a reporting structure. So perfect way to present your team is through an org chart. Write about, the key traits of your peeps. You're strong at certain things. The next in charge is going to be strong at certain things. Maybe there are gaps that you definitely want to hire for. If you're not strong in sales, you're going to say that, yeah, I'm going to have a sales department, hire, a quality salesperson to be in charge, maybe outsource sales. Certainly advisors, list a bunch of advisors who can help your success, aid your success. Advisors could be attorneys, could be accountants, it could be consultants like myself. It could be, folks who have been in the industry. So list that out in your plan. Financials, absolutely. You look at the total investment dollar need and putting that here. Look at what's the initial startup. Once they get investment, this amount of money goes out the door just before you start up or before you launch. The level of working capital that's going to cover operations costs, it's going to cover employees, even if you don't get a sale, right? So working capital that's required to keep the lights open. Breaking point, making sure that you address a goal that you need to have, right, in sales, so that you could pay for operations, so that you could pay for people, right, to break even. Projections, and these next few slides, I'll show you an approach to projections, but you absolutely want to include projections in your business plan in the financial section. So financial projections, typically difficult for most people, but here's my approach, right? The industry calls this pro forma financials, right? We look at financial statements because it standardizes the representation of any business. It makes it, it makes it make sense in numbers. And there's a standard way to present it. And we want to see a balance sheet. We want to see an income statement. We want to see a cash flow statement. The balance sheet is just a snapshot of what you got, or the assets that you got, once I snap the photo, the equipments, the vehicles, the furniture, the amount of money you got in the bank, the bills you haven't paid, the people that you owe in terms of money, how much money you put in there. So the balance sheet captures assets, liabilities, and owner's equity, right? Income statement, all technical stuff, right? Income statement just captures the business itself, just the business. How does it earn its money and revenue? What are the strict costs to earn that dollar in revenue? What are the operations costs, right? And then there's accounting jargon, the depreciation, the interest stuff that you got to capture in the income statement, right? Since the income statement includes accounting rules, right? The cash flow statement will capture information from the income statement and the balance sheet. The cash flow statement says, I'm going to only track cash that you spend on equipments, but you have to depreciate, right? Cash from operations, investing, and financing. You're taking a loan, you got to pay principal. The IRS rule says you can't deduct the principal payment. So these are technical representations that banks and investors, that people are used to seeing, right? But my approach says, look, don't worry about presenting your data in a financial statement format yet, right? Start with looking at startup costs. Just silo that out. What are you going to spend just to start up? Focus on the revenue model. What are you going to do? How much are you going to get in revenues on a monthly basis? What are you going to do with people? When are you going to hire them? What are you going to do with operations in terms of your space, in terms of the advertising, vehicles, right? The repairs and maintenance. So here, I'm going to go through these different parts that you'll want to accomplish. I know I'm short on time, so I'll rush through this part. So we went through this. Look, money in are from the investors from the previous slides in terms of your fundraising activities. You're going to spend all that money on assets, on getting it open. Once you get it open, right, there's still money that you have to cover for a certain period of time. That's your working capital. So look at this silo, look at getting this model out there. Look at the sales model, the products and services that you provide, name them, categorize them. What are you going to say your sales price will be on average, right? How are you going to sell them in terms of units? You can sell them single unit, sell them by the case, you can sell them by the dozen. Look at what's going to be your expense just to make that product, what's going to be expense to buy it from a distributor, what's your cost of goods sold, and how you want to approach this is what you don't want to do is say, look, I'm going to make $3 million a year and work backwards. Instead, work through what I call unit economics and look at, for example, a retail shop. You're going to say you're going to open 10 hours a day. You're going to expect, let's say, each hour, 10 customers an hour. Each customer is going to buy, on average, and spend $50 a ticket. You have that sales estimate per day, right? You multiply by 7, you get a week. You multiply 365. If you're open 365 days a year, you get a year. Divide by 12, that's on a monthly basis, right? So do that, because if you do that to think it through, once you get a question, well, explain to me how you're going to get $3 million in sales the first year, right? It's going to come out of your mouth much easier. You think it through in terms of details. How are you going to get these sales levels, right? So that's the sales model. The HR model, employees, super important, especially in California, right? It's expensive. You got to be wary of what you do with employees. Look at listing the titles of the people that you need. How are you going to pay them? You're going to pay them by the hour, by the month. How many hours are they going to work per week? You're going to pay them by the hour. Certainly, you don't want to pay overtime to reduce your expenses for labor. When do you expect to hire? I mean, if you don't need to hire everybody from day one, you could certainly stagger them out as you grow, right? Expected monthly pay. Make sure you calculate how much you need to spend on a monthly basis on people. You got to make sure you include payroll taxes. It covers Social Security, Medicare, on the Fed basis, the unemployment insurance on the Fed and statewide basis. The benefits that you want to offer just to be competitive, right? Whether it be retirement, insurance, bonus. Um, in California, it's recurrent. You cover workers' comp insurance. Make sure you include that in your HR model. Here, due to the lack of time, these are the typical expenses once you have a company, from repairs and maintenance, rents, supplies, all these things include that. So my thing is, if you cover these four, maybe get somebody else, right, to help reorganize the information, put it into a balance sheet format, put it into an income statement format, and put it into a cash flow format, right? So that's my approach to projections. Certainly, this is what you need to prepare to to write a business plan. That was my last slide. So we have just about 12 minutes left. Do give me questions if you do have questions. Thank you. Ethan, you still there?
Yes, you're here. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was full of a lot of great information. But yeah, let's just get right into the Q&A. So first question is, how long should a business plan be?
Well, that's that's really dependent in terms of how much information you want to include in your business plan. There's no set pages, but certainly you want substance, you want detail into the business plan. If you don't have information, for example, prices, make sure that you can list the resources that you're going to go to really determine your prices. Remember, the business plan is written for yourself. So if you list the resources that you can go to get the prices in the business plan, yeah, you include that. There's no set pages though, right? I've done business plans that have been 80 pages, 100 pages. Some have been 20 pages. There's no standard for the number of pages. Thank you for the question, though.
Oh, thank you. That was a great answer. The next question is, projections appear to be difficult. Where would I start?
Yeah, yeah, projections are different. So I think here, if you have resources out there that whether it be accountants, whether it be finance specialists, I mean, that's the first place. So you can be comfortable with looking at numbers. What you want to do is, in terms of my approach, is look at, well, what are the costs that you have to spend just to start your business, right? Just try to follow my approach and just gather information. You can't just guess. You can certainly go online and try to get information, but you best got to call for quotes. If you're going to buy furniture, computers, right? Absolutely. You don't want to pay for top of the line stuff. You want to look at the resources, all the cost that goes into buying furniture and equipment. Start with that. What is it going to cost to buy stuff to start? What is it going to cost to get resources, right? In terms of, people, how much you expect for them to, how much do you expect to pay for them? You can even put out ads that you're searching for people. Look at ads that are currently there for employees that you're searching for and what's it going rate. So just follow, my initial approach, right, in terms of finding prices and getting the information. All right, so that's how you would start with projections. Start to get credible cost information of things. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, another great answer, for sure. Next question. Are there key components of a business plan specifically for cannabis businesses?
Absolutely. What you want to do is you want to look at being compliant with the DCC regulations. I mean, if you haven't gone to the DCC website, you don't know where to get the regulations, certainly you can email me or email the team and to get a copy of the DCC regulation, making sure that you have it in there, right, in your plan in terms of security, in terms of quality control, in terms of inventory. There's certain things that you need to include to make sure that you're compliant. You're not going to advertise in social media and Facebook that that will attract the eyes of those that are under 21, right? So absolutely, you have to make sure that all the things that you write are going to fit into the framework that the DCC permits you to operate. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's sort of a follow-up to that. So, what are some common mistakes to avoid when drafting a cannabis business plan?
Uh, I think, like I mentioned earlier, when you're drafting a business plan, it's making just bold statements without any substance, making claims, what I term just marketing jargon. You're going to be this, you're going to provide this sense. And, I've read in terms of business plans where people are going to say, yeah, I'm going to do this for retail. It's going to be this in terms of, high level for the loyal cannabis users. But, I don't see it in terms of, the assets they buy, in terms of, you know, the space that they're going to use, in terms of the product that they list out, the naming convention they use. So it's just the inconsistency of these statements. So those are really the things that I've seen that have oftentimes repeated by those who are writing business plans, just making claims, and that's just a big statement. Making claims that really has no substance in terms of how they're going to achieve that. So try not to do that for sure. Any other
Great.
questions?
Yeah, so two more. Second to last one is how should regulatory compliance be addressed in the business plan?
Let's see. With the folks that I've helped with regulatory compliance, I mean, absolutely, the DCC gives out a checklist of the things that they're going to do. They're going to check even before you get your license, right? So what you need to do is go through that checklist and make sure that in your operations, in your plan, that you include the things that will permit you to pass the checklist, whether it be, the design of the label, whether it be the packaging, whether it be the storage, right? Whether it be the security of the product, whether it be, the identification of folks who enter your premises, right? So you want to include those things in terms of compliance, in terms of making sure you abide by the regulations. Anything else?
Yes, last question is how do evolving cannabis laws affect long-term business planning?
Business is really managing uncertainties. Outside of the cannabis, that all businesses face that, in terms of regulations, new laws that come out. You just need to tap into the DCC, tap into government rules, make sure that you subscribe to the newsletters, the emails, so that you're not surprised by new laws that come. Right? Maybe you will rejoice with the new laws. Maybe you will be upset with the new laws, but you want to be uh, you want to ensure that you're informed with new laws that come out. New laws, it's just a crapshoot. The worst thing you can do is just worry about it constantly, right? The thing that you need to do is just make sure you have awareness of where to go to be updated in the laws or the laws that are about to be passed. Any other questions?
No, that is the last one. So with that, just want to thank you so much again for, a wonderful presentation. It was jam-packed, full of great information. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to present that information for us tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. My pleasure. So I'll stop sharing my screen. All
All
right.
right, so we hope you enjoyed this webinar on business plan preparation. Please join DCR for the next webinar on predatory practices, partnership issues, and vetting partnerships, which is scheduled for Thursday, September 12th at 6 p.m. Additionally, the SEP team will be hosting our next installment of the Social Equity Program Training Summit Series on Thursday, October 10th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This training summit will focus on helping you improve your pitch deck. Summit will take place at Friendship Auditorium. For questions, please contact dcr.sep@lacity.org, dcrlicensing@lacity.org, or please contact your licensing analyst directly. Thank you.